session will have 45 minutes, 30 minutes of talk, followed by 15 minutes of Q&A. A request to all of you to stay muted through the talk and keep your videos on. Feel free to post your questions on the chat function, and Harshji will answer any question in the realm of human wellness, the environment. About Mr. Harsh Vardhan Umre, I take the pleasure to introduce him today. Mr. Harsh Vardhanji is the Additional Commissioner, GST and Customs for Government of India. He pursued his bachelor's degree in civil engineering and bachelor's of law from Pune University. His passion was to serve the government in the revenue sector. So he completed his Indian Revenue Service, IRS examinations with flying colors. He has more than 20 years of experience in handling taxation, customs-related challenges at airports across India. He's the founder of Ahimsa, Human Rights, Earth Rights, a platform through which he has supported the rights of humans, earth, and environment. In the times of the ongoing pandemic, Ahimsa has been conducting web conferences to draw attention to the various aspects of environment conservation and rights of the earth. Currently, he's working on a book on the abolition of capital punishment titled The Humane Chain. So thank you so much, Harshji, for being here. And we are very eagerly waiting to hear what you have to say to us. And we'd love to know more about Ahimsa as well. So over to you, Harshji.
Very warm good evening to all members of Rtambhara family and friends and others who have joined in. At the outset, I must express my heartfelt thanks to Shri Praveen Goenkaji, Honorable Consul of the Republic of Estonia, for inviting me to speak today here on this platform. I also thank the whole Rtambhara team for putting this together show and having me here. First of all, I must really admit, and I must be very candid in that I'm really not sure whether I fit the bill to talk to this very august gathering of Rtambhara, who are very learned people, and I have been listening to a lot of people who have come on this platform. So those shoes are too big for me to fill, I must at the onset. So any shortcomings on my part may please be seen in those lights. Thank you for having me here today. And I am to speak on human wellness, the environmental connect. It is my humble effort to draw attention to the issue and essentially the connect between human wellness and the wellness of the earth. I would like to have the screen sharing. So with this, I would like to start my presentation. Thank you for having me here. I'll just begin with the presentation. So today, essentially, I want to begin today by quoting Hippocrates, the Greek physician of the 4th century BC, who is considered one of the most outstanding figures in the history of medicine, and in whose name, even today, the Hippocratic oath is taken by the physicians all over the world. And he said, and I quote, "Health is the greatest of human blessings. Health is the greatest of human blessings." And that was what he said more than 2,500 years ago. And today, with all our advancements in science and technology and research in health and medicines, in these 2,500 years, even today, this thing remains true and rings true to our ears. Health, my friends, indeed is the greatest of all human blessings. So that is what Hippocrates said about health. With this, in this last 2,500 years, if you take this as a reference point or any point, and today, health and human health is not merely the absence of any disease or absence of any illness or sickness. Health has a far wider connotation. And if you see this, how the WHO has defined health, and when it says that it is a state of, it has defined health as a state of happiness, as a state of physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So this puts in perspective that what we are looking at today is a total human health has transcended from being merely a physical well-being or physical health, absence of any sickness, to a total well-being involving the social, physical, and mental aspects of human personality. And therefore, we see with this basic background that human health is therefore has a much wider connotation today than what it was what it was in the earlier times when he talked about human health. So uh, so and it has moved further when we talk about human well-being and human health, and a very apt summation by Mr. J. Stanford, who is a noted and very celebrated author in the West. And when he said, health is a state of body, health is a state of body, and wellness is a state of being. And this again puts in perspective the essential ingredients when you talk about human wellness. And it says health is a state of body, that is a physical health, and wellness is the state of being. That is where the other components of health, when you talk about the total health issues which we generally encounter in our lives. So friends, while so therefore, as we see, human health has a much broader and much wider connotation than merely physical well-being. Physical, of course, physical well-being is at the core and is at the very center of human health-being. But apart from the physical health, the aspects of social health, mental health, spiritual health are equally essential for the total wellness of human personality. So with this, so we have traveled, therefore, from human health to human well-being, from human health to human well-being. And when we talk about human well-being, that takes us from the clinics and hospitals to wellness centers and health resorts like our very own Rtambhara. So this journey from illness, physical illness, and when we would go to the doctors and some medical hospitals, and the whole aspects of health well-being has broadened up, and that is where comes the whole this in the present context, and that is where Rtambhara as an institution, as a place where we have a full human wellness centers which is there. And I was reading the Rtambhara's website, which mentioned that, and it is here. It says Rtambhara is a community for individuals seeking balance in their emotional, physical, and spiritual life. So that sums up what we are basically dealing with when we talk about human wellness. So even and over the period of time, with this changing lifestyles and the changing with this whole developmental thing, which is developmental, economic developmental, lifestyle changes, and essentially what has happened over the past few years is even the human wellness has moved beyond the salt scrubs and meditation routines. So human wellness, first from human physical health to human wellness centers, and even in the wellness centers, there is a movement towards not only the meditation and the spa, but it goes much beyond that, and it has traveled a distance where the human wellness now encompasses also the emotional, spiritual, and physical recharge of the body. So this is when we say like this is what we have traveled this distance in the journey when we talk about human well-being. So And as you mentioned, uh, assault, as it is put up, it is a very assault of technology. That's what it says. That in the if you have seen in the past decades, lifestyle diseases and obesity have become what is called a global plagues. And it's not only the plagues which we hear about in history, about the Great Black Fever or some kind of those plagues, but even these lifestyle diseases and obesity, these have been termed as nothing less than global plagues. And burnout, human burnout because of work-related pressure is also now classified as a human health condition. The race of life has taken toll on humans. The continuous and newer assaults of technology has essentially disconnected our minds from our bodies, and has also disconnected ourselves from the natural world. Uh, the drive to seek well-being through alternate therapies and routes, therefore, in humans' quest to recharge their tired bodies and restless souls, have taken humans to new places and unknown territories in search of physical and mental and spiritual well-being. As we look at this, and this whole trend which is there about seeking well-being and going and visiting in the like places in the midst of nature, and trying to find themselves in the middle of nowhere. That is essentially now what we see as the journey in this whole quest for human well-being. And if you see the figures and how this industry of global well-being has actually grown over a period of decades, and if you see, like, as per the Global Health Institute, we see that the business of well-being is 3 times bigger than the pharmaceutical industry. And I think this is a very important aspect. It reflects a very important aspect when we say that it is a global health institute, when it's made the survey and its findings, that the business of well-being is 3 times larger than the pharmaceutical industries. So we can see that when we talk about human wellness, it has grown so much from merely physical well-being to the spiritual and mental well-being. So this is a reflection basically of how humans over the period of times have chosen to look much beyond the mere physical well-being. And that is what even the UN definition of health was emphasizing, that the overall well-being is important when we talk about human well-being. And so as people, we see that people are essentially trying to mm, turn to various fields of thoughts and they're trying to seek various schools of ancient wisdom, different cultures and societies, in search for that elusive peace of mind and body, which each individual in his own innermost hearts and minds desire to have that inner peace. And that takes the person in the journey, in the quest to in search of places where they would find that solace. And that is where this human well-being and wellness centers have such an important role to play in this whole process of achieving human well-being. So having said that, human wellness has moved beyond the spa studios and salt scrubs and meditations and the what I call it as the studios, and so it has moved beyond these studios, and it has entered the larger domain, and it has entered a larger area, where to say, and where so where so from human wellness, from the studios and this resorts and this human wellness institutions and uh, the studios, detox studios, where has this journey taken us? It has taken us to nature. And the call of nature, when they talk about reconnecting with nature, that essentially defines this whole journey of wellness. So people are essentially now aching for a return to nature and nurture, in search of simplicity and soulfulness. And maybe this may be due to various aspects. And one of the major thing it says is the feeling of emptiness and exhaustion that individuals feel in their lives, and therefore they feel the need to regenerate, recharge, and revitalize their mind, body, and soul. And that's what takes individuals to that's why what takes individual to essentially nature. So when we go to nature, what do we find? When we talk about the well-being and health of human beings, and in order to have a total human well-being, man has now traveled to nature. That being the case, it is important to understand and know what is the state and what is the state of well-being and health of the planet and environment, where man in his own journey for his own wellness, he is traveling to the nature. But what is the state of that nature? What is the condition and health status of that environment, where individual have now traveled from the spa studios and doctors clinics, and he is now seeking to reach out within by going out in the nature. So what is the state of that nature? That becomes very important for us to understand how this human wellness is connected to the wellness of the environment and wellness and condition of the earth per se. And so what is the condition of the earth today? And so this is a question which is so very vital here for us to understand and know as we move further in this discussion. So what is the state of earth's wellness? And I'm sure that most of us would be having this some answer with us. And one thing that is very certain is, well, the earth is not well. The earth today is certainly not well. When we want to seek our own human's wellness, and when we want to go and seek our wellness from the environment, and we see here what is the condition, and if we ask this question that what is the state of earth's wellness, the answer will come: the earth is not well. And I'll repeat, the earth is not well. Just as individuals, when we are not well, what are our parameters of not being well? We have fever, we have some other ailments in the body, like in the more serious natures, people may have cancers and other diseases, and some infections and viral infections. And so these are the parameters of individuals when we define and say that an individual is not well when he has fever. Dear friends, today the earth is also passing through a similar phase. If we talk about the human fever, well, the earth is having fever too today in this time. If you see what we call today is global warming, and the whole catastrophe of climate change, which is before us, which is before us as scientific facts. And we are all aware that this global warming, which is a reality, and if you see the figures, that as per the UNEP, the temperatures of the earth has gone by more than 1.5% in the past, over the post pre-industrial era. That is the rise in temperature which has taken place. And this rise in temperature, well, the earth is having fever, and we cannot deny it. It is a fact there. And when as we human beings, and we say that when we have a fever past 100, we go to the doctor and we go to clinics to take some medicines and get ourselves, where will the earth go? Where will the earth go? It is also having fever. What about the fever of the earth? As human beings, we are so self-subsumed in ourselves that, if somebody in our family has fever, the kids have fever, anybody in the family have fever, will rush to the doctors and take some medicines. Well, the earth is having fever. What about that? What about the this is essential, and this is very important for us to understand when we talk about the connect between the human wellness and the earth wellness. So earth, as we say, is having several ailments, and as I said, this fever is just one of it. And if you see further, if you see apart from the fever, this is other ailments like human beings. This one, and this is before us. What do we see? What do we see here? A highly degraded, polluted environment, be it on land, water, or air. Pollutions everywhere. We see, we may be sitting in studios, and we may have a very safe environment when we have these resorts. But if you look at this condition which is there, and this is not just some pictures random here and there, but this is actually the state of the environment and the earth which is there. You look at any magazines or any media or any information from the net, you find the state of the planet today in terms of air pollution, land pollution, water pollution. We should, as humans, what have we done here? We talk about our wellness, and what are we doing with the wellness of the earth? There were very gory pictures also, but I didn't want to put that when I was just doing my little bit of trying to make a presentation here. And the pictures which you come across for water pollution uh, are very unsettling, so to speak. And this is what, so this is essentially a condition about the well-being of the earth which is there today. And it is necessary for us to understand, and that earth also feels like unwell when we dump all this, in our house. We clean our house, we make it spick and span, and then we take out the what we call garbage and put it outside, and somebody will come and take it away. Where is this away? It may be away for us or the person who is throwing it. Where is this away? The away is this. That place called away is the earth. That is where we dump. And the earth has become this kind of a dumping place for all kind of nuisance and nonsense of humans. This is where what is basically reflecting the condition of the well-being of the earth. And we want to, for our own human wellness, want to go to earth in order to seek our own wellness and have our spiritual journey. What about the spiritual journey of the earth? Look at it, what a mess we have made. And that is not all. And nobody will even want to talk about it, because we have become so immune, or rather thick-skinned, to these kind of issues. They take it, oh, this is a normal, as it's called, it's normal. So we have not stopped at that. Man, in his own ingenuity or devilish enterprise, what you can call, has gone and done this. If you see, man has, with his all brainy inventions, one of the great inventions was this nuclear atomic energy. But with every invention, we should have a scientific audit. Just because you have discovered something doesn't mean that it has to be out there in public. Look at this, what it has done to the earth. Tons of radioactive waste is dumped and stored in the bellies and seabeds of the earth. And it's going to remain there for generations, because we know that the radioactive waste that has a half-life funda. So it's not going to go away. And this toxic radiation remains in the body of the earth. So this is the condition of the earth. Let us talk about the wellness of the earth. This is the toxicity. See, like we sometimes, as human beings, we have sometimes food poisoning, because when we see that some foreign elements are not get into our body, we have food poisoning because it doesn't go with our system. If we don't call this food poisoning for the earth, then what it is? This whole toxicness that we have brought onto this earth, this is a very gory example of the irresponsible march, so to speak, of this whole developmental process. Now, we are not going into the debate of development and etc. But yes, who doesn't want development? But I think we should always think about the effects which that particular thing will have on the environment. Okay, so here it is. We have left a legacy here, humans, which will continue to remain in the body of the earth. And what else we have? What else we have? We have this picture here, which where I have mentioned, I say the earth is wounded. Earth is wounded. What we mean is, when two individuals have a scuffle or some fight, somebody gets wounded, somebody gets hurt, and there are some wounds in the body, and so there are wounds, and they go get themselves bandaged, medicine, get well after a certain time. So similarly, when nations fight and bomb each other and put missiles on each other's territories, the earth is wounded. My dear friends, this is exactly what is happening. When we have a little wound in our body, some wound after some, and we feel so much pain and distress, and we have doctors to go and medicines to apply. What about this? In the wars that have been fought down the ages, and it is continuing, even in the so-called modern times of enlightened human being, we see the continuous taken for granted approach for the planet Earth. When nobody has even given a thought, because we know that when wars are fought and reporters are reporting, and we see newspapers and the report of the war, it says that so many casualties. What it says is so many people died, so many injured. That is the reporting. What about the flora, fauna? Have you ever thought about how many trees would have been died there? What about the birds which were living in this area? What about the animals which were there? This approach which we have continuously had of taking the earth for granted like anything, and not even thinking about it. So these wounds of the earth are open wounds. When we see this, for example, this landmines which were in wars, when we put landmines in the, and then it goes up. I think it is time for us to reflect on these issues, because when we talk about the wellness of human beings, I think we should little move away from that selfish zone of ours and see about the wellness of the earth on which we live, and where we want to go to reconnect to ourselves, because we want to go to nature and feel the fresh air. That is where we want to go. But the state of that environment, the state of that nature is really very shocking, and it has been continuously degraded by human beings, by their activities. And finally, one more severe element of the earth, and this is quite very severe. There's another element which is there. Oh, well, this is the earth wounded, and okay, this is this we all should know. This is the wound of the earth when the bombs were dropped on the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and all the plants were just burnt out in no time. And this is such a crime against earth, and what we call as ecocide. When we talk about homicides and we talk about the rights of man, this is crimes against the earth. This is ecocide. As man, we can continue to do what we can, as we have demonstrated, but this will remain in history as the darkest hour when man committed that horrific ecocide on the planet Earth. This is a picture. So I now take you to the other bigger ailment of this earth, which is there, a bigger element. We all sometimes get some infection. We have sometimes fever, as I mentioned, sometimes food poisoning, or this pollution. Sometimes we have the disease of cancer, and etc. But sometimes we also get what is called as a what is called as a viral infection, which we are all witnessing today. And even today, we only think about somebody getting positive COVID. Even today, we see that, oh, these many people infected, these many recovered. These are, we talk about numbers when people get infected. Friends, let us for a moment ponder and think that essentially the earth is infected by this virus. Let us think for some time, be the voice of the voiceless earth, and think that it is the earth which is infected. The COVID pandemic has essentially infected the earth. The virus is on the earth. And who put it there? Who put it there? It is for us to reflect. When we are always so self-subsumed and talking about our wellness and our illnesses and our diseases and our COVID pandemic, here is what is necessary for us to reflect. It is for us to reflect that it is the earth which is basically going through a very severe crisis. We don't talk about healing the earth. We don't talk about vaccination for the earth. We are, for our humans are for their own race. This vaccine, this medicine, dear friends, it would be, I think, appropriate for us to understand that it is essentially the earth which has been infected by this deadly virus, and the cause for the responsibility for having done this somehow, directly or indirectly, comes in the door of human beings for their maybe acts of irresponsibility of whatever they have done. And this is what essentially is happened. So friends, this is what I meant by saying this is the connect essentially between humans and the earth. And we want to talk about our human wellness, which is a good thing, but we should also understand that there are responsibilities for and there are of our actions, and over a period of time we have been so self-subsumed in our own selfishness that we have made a mess of the place on which we stay. So friends, what we want to say is so as we see here, that was the state of the planet where we were, I have just some few examples I have taken, and see, we can have our manicured lawns and designer studios and what you call spa studios and detox chambers, but these are located on the same planet Earth. And as we have seen that planet Earth is now, it is sick, is unwell. The air that we breathe in, maybe even in those resorts, is the same. We may have our bottled waters and mineral waters and whatnot, but mind it, the water will come from the same polluted rivers. It may have gone through a process, but it will come from the same polluted rivers. So this state of the environment, therefore, has a deep and direct impact on the well-being of the human beings. We humans cannot live in isolation and cut off and secluded from our own islands and cannot live in seclusion and cut off from the natural environment. We have seen, apart from the lifestyle diseases, the degraded environment, which we have seen how degraded it has become, is in fact a silent killer. The incidence of heart attacks, heart diseases, cancers, and other such diseases are indication of not only of the health of human beings, but essentially the health of the planet on which we are living. So a degraded environment can only lead to degradation of the human health. So when the earth itself is unwell, it is important for us to ask how we as human beings can be well. It is therefore imperative for us to understand that the planet Earth over the period of time has been taken for granted. We as humans have, by our acts, done so much degradation to the natural environment. By our acts of several acts including indiscriminate deforestation, unchecked exploitation of the natural resources, increasing mining, pressure of growing urbanization, etc. have caused irreparable damage to the earth. The unbridled intrusion into the domain of animal kingdom for our own experimentation, culinary variation, and commercial exploitation has unwittingly brought man in conflict with the natural ecosystem. It seems that somewhere along the line, humans have crossed that fine balance between humans and nature. And in fact, if you see the present pandemic and what we call as viral infection of the earth, is, if you see, in some ways, it may be a result of this indiscretion of humans and intrusion into the domain of other inhabitants of this planet, and thereby distorting the natural ecosystem. In this background, therefore, it is essential for us to somehow restore a balance between man and humans. It is in the interest of human beings, it is in the interest of human well-being that we factor into our discussion the well-being of the environment and the overall wellness of the planet Earth. So this is what I wanted to say. And if you see, I don't want to go into the details of climate change here. Everybody is well aware. So I just want to say, see, when we talk about the environment and wellness of the wellness of the earth, what essentially comes to mind is about the rights of the earth, the rights of the earth. Yesterday, incidentally, was the day 10th of December, was a very historic anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Yesterday was a very, one sec. 1 minute, 1 minute. Just give me a moment. Yeah. So yesterday we had this very historic anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was proclaimed by the United Nations on the 10th of December 1948, which essentially set out the fundamental human rights to be universally protected for all peoples and all nations. And friends, with this background, when we see that the looking into the state of nature which is there and the devastation and degradation caused to the natural ecosystem and the perils which the earth is facing today, as we have seen in several incidents, and we, for the limitations of time, I didn't want to go into much detail, but broadly if we see, so maybe the time has come now for us, to adopt a similar universal declaration of the rights of the earth to protect and nurture the planet Earth, which essentially sustains all life of flora, fauna, and the human and the human beings. So essentially, what I wanted to present here is that there is an essential deep connect. There is a essential connect between the humans and the human life and the earth, and therefore this fundamental linkages between the wellness of humans and the wellness of the earth is needed to be realized, and we need to essentially see what actions we can take to uphold the rights of the earth. And it is essential for us to understand that it is not, human beings are not the sole occupants or inhabitants of the planet earth, but only one among the several hundreds and thousands of other species inhabiting this planet. Human beings need to respect the rights of the earth and the rights of the other inhabitants of this planet. And that is what will essentially ensure the well-being and wellness of the human beings. That's I had to say for today, and I would rest my case here. And thank you for hearing me out. I do not know whether I made any sense or whatever, but this is what I wanted to say. I have some more things I should put it here. And thank you very much. Thank you. It
Thank
was
you
a
so much.
pleasure for me to present. Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Mr.
Thank you,
Harshvardhan.
ma'am.
It was a beautiful personification of the earth, which we talk about ourselves, and we are so concerned about every little ailment that happens to us. But when you brought out that the earth is wounded and the earth is having fever, and all of these things, really hit home. Thank you so much for that. That was very beautifully done, I must say.